Welcome to East Tennessee Pinball. Got one more thing left on this Indiana Jones. I'll show you real quick. See that little dot after the free play? It'll come back up here in a second. Basically, this game was all done. I talked to the client. I said, let me put it in the tournament. There it is one more time, the period after play. Or if it was on credits, it'd be, like 3 credits, and it'd be a little period there. That's telling you that there's an error in the game somewhere. So I talked to the client. They said I talked them into let me put it in the tournament, and I always tell them, 2 things. One, everybody's going to love to play it, and number 2, the game will get like 20 plays or so, and it'll work out all the problems with it. The other thing is all the pinheads that come in here and play it, they're real picky, and if there's anything wrong with it, they'll tell me. So the game played fine. I did notice after the tournament that I had this credit dot. So I'm going to show you, in this case, it turns out it was a pretty small thing. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to go into the test mode. Just go into the buttons here. And so first thing it says, check left loop bottom, 55. So you look over here at the left loop. There's 2 switches there. This is the bottom one. So I'm going to go one more. I'm going to go into the test, and the first test is switch edge. So on the switch edge, you press any switch, it'll beep, and it'll give you the name of the switch. So if I press this button here, a little switch, nothing. So what the game has done, if any of the switches, if it doesn't activate in, I don't know, so many gameplays or something, it will give you that error. Doesn't necessarily mean that the game is bad. It could be that just nobody's played it and hit it. So some of these switches, like some of these down here, they're kind of hard to hit, because you got to go all the way down here. So you might not ever hit them very often. So you could get a credit dot just because you're not really challenging the game. You're not getting deep into the mechanisms. So it doesn't necessarily mean that something's wrong. It just means you haven't hit all the switches. On some of these WPCs, there's I don't know about this particular one. There is, if you go through the menus, you can turn off the ability for the game to tell you that there's an error. You can turn off that little period so it won't show. I like to leave it there so that way you can see it. And maybe it tells you maybe it's only telling you you need to step up your game on your play. But anyway, so that switch is not functioning. I just hit that one there with my thumb. I'm gonna pull this playfield up and look at it a little bit more. If I can find it down here, I think that's it right there. Yeah, it's just, I'm pulling it way down there. So now it's working. So once it clicked, it started working. And I will tell you that I have been through this exact procedure once before. So it's like it was not, these are these little cherry switches. It's right behind here where it click, 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 click. And this one basically, it got to a situation where it wasn't clicking, and it bent really far, and then it started clicking. It was fine. So this little switch here is going bye-bye, and I'm putting in a new one. Just a couple of solder points, and switches don't cost much, so that'll take care of that, and it'll be good to go. So I've got this switch here where I can see it better, and that little yellow button in there, if you see it, it's kind of going a little bit too much side to side. It's a little too wallered out. So sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And it's just, so this is garbage. So I've got a new switch here. I'm going to reuse this little metal armature because these switches, they come in, you can buy the whole thing, but to try to stock and have all of them on hand is like too much. So I always keep the switch itself and the armature. They just snap off right there. And there's nothing wrong with that metal wire. So I've got the other one sitting here. I put the diode on there. I'll solder it all up, snip the leads, and that armature will go right there at the end of my thumbnail. There's actually 2 spots, and it goes on the first one. We'll solder them all up and should be good to go. Okay, so I've got the switch installed. I got it in the switch test, and go here and press this switch. Left bottom loop. I'll throw a ball in there. Yep, it's all working, so it's ready to go back to the client. If you like the content, subscribe.